Hi everyone, my name's Joshua and welcome to Northern Solar. So today we're looking back at the facts and figures from January 2023 to continue to answer the question, are solar panels worth it? So we'll jump right into the presentation. So this month we've got a lot to look at, so a quick recap for those of you new to the channel. This is our solar array here in our house in Cheshire. We've also got panels on the back, so 10 on the front there, 10 on the back. That's 20 panels, giving us 8 kilowatts of solar production. We have a 6 kilowatt SolarEdge inverter and 13 kilowatt hours of battery storage in the Growatt batteries. So solar production for January, it was actually got quite a few good days. You can see here we've got around 9 kilowatt hours per day, and 2 days in a row there, another day later towards the end of the month. But also we had some pretty poor days as well, with down here in the sort of down at like 1 or 2 kilowatt hours, really quite low. So highest of 8.83, lowest of 1.22, total production of 129.6 kilowatt hours, an average of 4.18. So that looks pretty good when you compare it to December, where this was last December here. So slightly higher. Hopefully we'll see more production coming up in February, March, and see what we can get after that, April, May, June, July, etc. To compare to last year's really high numbers that we got. So as you can see, yeah, January pretty low, still in the middle of winter, but overall we had some pretty good days and some pretty bad days. So I picked an average day, which was the 16th of January. So you can see here again, sun coming up around 8 AM in the morning. Got a few good spikes in production when there was some clear spells, but still not the best day. We didn't really get anywhere near a kilowatt at any point. A few patchy spells, and then again, day ends pretty quickly still. Cloudy in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, no more production. So this one's got the more detail in it. I tried a little bit differently today, so to overlay the battery percentage. The app that I have for my Growatt system shows all the data, but it's not always in the most sort of user-friendly way. So this is sort of a typical production and consumption in the house. So our overnight charging window, it starts around 2:30, and you can see here we're charging the home battery and the car at the same time. So we're drawing around 10 kilowatts at that point. So the home battery is charging up, as you can see in the background. This is the percentage of the battery, it's around 40% coming down overnight. Charges up for a couple of hours till it's fully charged. I think I set it to 90% because I think it was going to be quite a nice day the next day. I didn't want to overfill it. So I think it got to 90%, I think it was around here. Battery finishes charging here, and you can see the car carries on charging here around 7 kilowatts. And then here we go. Battery and car finish charging, and you see the battery starts to discharge here to follow the load on the house. So you see the load on the house here is these peaks here. We've got underfloor heating in the kitchen, maybe the kettle, toast and everything in the morning for breakfast. You can see in the background here, this is the solar generation of the day. And as you can see, during that part of the day, we're not really using very much electricity. And the solar is actually then charging the battery back up. So you can see we got back up to maybe around 80%, maybe a few percentage over than that during the day while the sun's out. And then again, usage in the afternoon and again in the evening, these little spikes of things for cooking, potentially, oven, kettle, that sort of stuff. So again, yeah, generally the battery just drains and drains during the day, and then again into the night, ticks over. So you can see a pretty typical day in January, battery covering all the usage during the day, and also charging up overnight still at the moment as it's winter. So moving on, this is our solar production. This is the sort of stuff everyone's waiting for, is the financials and production numbers. So as you can see here, in January we produced 130 kilowatt hours of solar energy. We actually exported 28 of those to the grid. This is something we're still working on, trying to minimise our exports to the grid at this time of the year, but it's difficult to know day to day how sunny it's going to be. So we charge the battery up to 100% overnight, and then the next day, if we don't use enough in the morning, the sun comes out, charges the battery up to full again, and then we're exporting if the sun's still out. So still got quite a bit to learn with how we manage our solar production and exporting amounts during these months when we actually are putting charge into the battery. So as you can see, we self-consumed 102 of those 130 that we generated. Our grid consumption is 715 kilowatt hours. This is almost entirely down to charging the home battery overnight and charging the car as well, which we'll go into a little bit later. So our numbers from the grid, during our peak hours, we only drew 9 kilowatt hours from the grid in total across the whole month, and then the off-peak consumption is 705. So I'll break that down a little bit more later on into what's being used during that off-peak and what's it for car and battery. But as you can see, we were able to consume 78.4% of what we generated, and only 21.6 went out to the grid. And then if we look at our usage breakdown, the peak time grid usage is only 1.15%, which is pretty good. So financially wise, standing charge £14.67, that's with and without solar's the same. If we were to use that amount of electricity off the grid, it would have cost us £231.65, but our actual grid usage was £56.87 for all that off-peak usage. So our net electricity cost, including the standing charge, was £71.53. We actually managed to earn £1.15 from our exports, and our net electricity cost overall is £70.39, compared with £246.32 that it would have cost us without solar and battery. So monthly savings of £175.93, which is pretty spectacular if you ask me. We'll move on to the month-to-month comparison. This table's getting quite small to read now, sorry about that. I might have to reformat what I'm actually showing here. So this is since we started having the panels in April all the way through to the end of last year, and then I did some monthly total, yearly total in last month's video. So this is January 23 when we got the new EV. These are the same numbers here, but this is this extra breakdown that I've got from this. The car charging, the data from our PodPoint app showed that of those 705 kilowatt hours that were used off-grid, 509 of those were used to charge the car, which meant that 196 was what went into the battery and any other overnight usage in the house, whether it be the underfloor heating or the dishwasher, washing machine that might be on overnight. So as you can see, the vast majority of what we're using in the off-peak period is actually to charge the car. So we have two plug-in cars at the house. We have the Renault Zoe, which we just got. This is the first month we've got into that one, which I'll go more into detail later. Then we've got the Range Rover Hybrid. So we charge up quite a lot to cover our mileage. So as you can see, 509.5 units is quite a lot of electricity, but we're only ever doing that in the off-peak period overnight. So yeah, these are just the breakdowns we showed before. But total of savings since we installed the solar system with the batteries is £1,309.29. So then we go into payback period, which I always have to caveat to say this is a bit of a finger in the air. It's really hard to predict what things are going to cost in the future and how much you're going to generate and things like that. But our generation is expected to be around 6,500 per year. If I just skip back a slide again, sorry, you can see that we're already at 5,963 and we've got a few months left. So around about 6,500 seems to be a pretty good estimate. If you're taking an estimated import rate of a flat rate of electricity at 36 pence and an estimated export rate of 4 pence, with our system production and assumptions around consumption and export, system degradation and annual inflation of costs, breaking that down against what our system cost to install, which is £15,215.50, we're still hoping to break even somewhere between 6 and 7 years based on those assumptions. Like I say, it's very hard to know exactly, but so far we're on track for that. So another question we had last month was about the optimizers on our system, because we have SolarEdge optimizers. And in last month's video, we had a couple of days where the panels were covered in snow and then partially covered as the snow melted and was frosty and icy. So back in last month's video, we could see a lot of difference between the panel production, whereas that was quite rare. Like that was the only time I'd ever noticed it on any particular day to look like there was a lot of difference in the panels, that the optimizers were working really hard to make sure that the panels that weren't covered were still able to generate. This is a pretty typical amount really. So you can see here, this is the total of the month. So 129.62 kilowatt hours generated. And as you can see, over the whole month of January, they're almost identical. Across every panel, on average, they're all generating something between 6.6 and 6.9. it's all very close. Like a lot of days where it's cloudy in the morning, cloudy in the afternoon, patchy cloud, that sort of stuff. But in general, you can see they're all very, very similar. So overall, like on a month like January, where we've not had any snow and ice covering some panels and not others, because of our roof doesn't really have any shade, the optimizers aren't having to do a lot, so they probably aren't adding an awful lot of benefit in these sort of times. And moving on to our Zoe, the Renault Zoe that we bought at the end of December. This is the first full month of data that we've got. So from the PodPoint app, you can see we had a total charging going into both cars of 509.5 kilowatt hours. So the Renault Zoe app told me that I'd charged 241.75 kilowatt hours in the month of January. So if we take the 241.75 kilowatt hours, and the car covered 865 miles during that time, we're averaging 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good, I think. The car does occasionally show a lot higher than that on a night. If I'm driving at warmer times of the day, if it's not first thing in the morning or late at night and it's cold. January's been pretty cold starts to the day, so it's not always that efficient first thing in the morning, but often I'm seeing numbers over 4 when I'm doing driving during the day. But on average, it's coming out at 3.6 miles per kilowatt. And as we pay 7.5p per kilowatt hour, that's working out at just 2 pence per mile to drive the Renault Zoe, which I'm really happy with so far. And as we get into warmer months, I'm hoping to see the average number go up. So we might get over 4, maybe even close to 5 miles per kilowatt, which would just mean it's almost free to drive when you're charging it up at 7.5p a mile. 7.5p per kilowatt hour. So yeah, first month with the Renault Zoe, really happy with how it's performing so far. So as ever, I have a little plug at the end of the videos where it shows my referral link for Octopus. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has already signed up for Octopus using this link. It makes a massive difference to us here. It's added great help for us over the winter period with the extra money going on to our electricity bill. It's really great. So if anyone is potentially switching over to Octopus for a different tariff, then please do consider using our share referral code. You get £50 credit on your bill and we'll get £50 credit on ours. So that is pretty much it for this month. Let me just switch back to the camera. There's me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's been a really good month in terms of production, I thought, because December was really quite low. So to get higher than 100 kilowatt hours, it's the first time we've had our solar through the winter, so it's been difficult to predict how it's been going. We are still exporting more than we'd like to, but on the plus side, work has started on the house. So we are actually doing a small kitchen extension, but as part of that, we're upgrading our boiler and getting an immersion heater tank. So we're really hoping to start exporting less as soon as that's fully installed. So something else to keep an eye on, and that'll be making an appearance in future videos once we've got that up and running. One thing that somebody mentioned last month when I talked about are solar panels worth it, is that actually in the months in December and November, then the solar panels themselves aren't really doing a lot. It's mostly the battery that's actually worth it. And it's a pretty good point. Obviously in this time of year, the solar does very little to sort of offset any bills. It's only adding a few, around 100 units a month. So realistically, the batteries are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We charge the batteries overnight and they discharge during the day. And so we're able to save money because we have a cheaper rate overnight. But what I would say is that overall, the system itself, the solar and the batteries, that's what I'm saying, are these worth it? And to be honest, I have to keep saying, are solar panels worth it? For us, most definitely yes. Though obviously, it's always worth looking into what factors would affect your ability to get solar and batteries at your house, whether or not it's a suitable roof, whether or not it's cost effective for you, depending on how your usage is in your house. But for us, most definitely, it's been worth it, and we'll continue to monitor how we're doing. I'll be looking forward in the next couple of months to finishing our first full year, and then we can really nail down how we're going to use the system going forward. So yeah, thanks very much for all your comments on the last few videos. I've really enjoyed replying to them. And as ever, if you've got any more questions, just drop them in the box below and I'll do my best to get back to them. If you're interested in seeing our system in more detail, I have a video that I did a few months ago. I'll put a little link up in the box up here somewhere, and you can see that video if you like as well. But until next time, thanks very much. See ya.